Governor of Kaduna State, Sani, has signed an executive order on financial inclusion. The order aims to address the exclusion of approximately 2.1 million underserved citizens in rural areas from accessing financial services. Our correspondent Lupe Asom reports.
Kaduna State Governor Senator Sani is flanked by senior government officials as he officially signs his first executive order, and it is on financial inclusion. The executive order aims to address the exclusion of 2.1 million poor, underserved and vulnerable citizens in rural areas from financial services. He says the Financial Inclusion and Literacy Committee will develop strategies to include the target population in the financial system and equip them with financial skills.
I have the statistics, which was also confirmed by the World Bank, that about 70 to 70% of our rural population are financially excluded. Because of that, here in Kaduna, we have decided to ensure that the vulnerable people within our own society in the rural areas are captured.
A state register of the poor, underserved and vulnerable will be established and verified. Kaduna State government will include 1 million citizens in the financial service sector within a year.
From our statistics in Kaduna, we have about 3.5 million population within our rural local governments. And out of the 3.5 million, over 2 million are financially excluded. That is why we have decided to come up with this position to ensure that at least 1 million have been able to be part of the financial services in the next 1 year.
The governor is also full of appreciation to the president for reviewing the 8,000 naira cash transfer program based on public feedback.
That is a very important decision. I would like to especially commend Mr. President for putting that transfer on hold until we are able to capture the right people. Because if we don't do that, the monies will go to the wrong people, not the actual vulnerable people within our society.
Key stakeholders like traditional rulers and religious leaders will be consulted for mass sensitization. The Committee on Financial Inclusion and Literacy will coordinate implementation together with relevant government agencies. Lupe Asom, TVC News, Kaduna.
Now, Niger's healthcare system will have a boost in federal funding with a plan to increase its allocation by 10% of the total budget. This was the disclosure by Special Advisor to the President on Health, Salma Anas, at a summit aimed at advancing healthcare financing in Nigeria through pro-health taxes. Health correspondent Kemi Balogun has more details.
Many non-communicable diseases are linked to modifiable lifestyle risk factors, such as the consumption of sugar-sweetened beverages. Diseases like diabetes, cancer, and heart diseases are on the increase, leading to 1 in 3 deaths from non-communicable diseases. The drive at this meeting with key players in the health sector is to not only support pro-health fiscal policy taxes on sugar-sweetened beverages, but to also find ways of raising these funds.
A lot of countries have adopted the sugar taxation, how we can mobilize more resources, including this tax, to help us improve the state of the health sector in Nigeria, and in particular, the non-NCD space.
President Bola Tinubu's administration has identified revenue generation as one of its key priorities, especially for healthcare, and to help advance the pro-health tax policy agenda, his special assistant on health reveals that improving human capital development through health is the way to go, and this will start through an increase in the country's budget allocation to the health sector.
Management of diabetes is very expensive. Treatment of cancer is beyond the reach of most Nigerians. We don't need to advocate to Mr. President. He has said he's going to increase allocation for health. He will start from 10%. He will start from 10% of the total budgetary allocation must go to health, and that is just the beginning.
About 75% of the country's population pay out of pocket for health care. So this summit hopes to highlight the need to generate more revenue from the SSB tax policy.
While advocates applaud this step, the present tax rate must be increased to yield better health outcomes.
Currently, the 10 naira per litre tax, it translates to about 6.7%. So, well, part of our advocacy is to ask for a higher tax so that whatever we collect as revenue can be substantial and relevant enough so that when it's channeled into healthcare, we'll feel the difference.
Experts admit that generating revenue from the sugar-sweetened beverage tax will be as high as 300 billion naira. With this, healthcare financing will grow exponentially. Kemi Balogun, TVC News, Abuja.
The federal government says it is determined to raise the country's gross domestic product and significantly reduce unemployment by creating meaningful opportunities for the teeming Nigerian youth through cassava. Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Budget and National Planning, Nebiole Sanako, disclosed this at an event in Ibadan. Olaide Oyewole reports. After that, business news.
Nigeria is facing food insecurity, but the federal government is making efforts to address it head-on. The United Nations recently projected that about 25.3 million people in Nigeria would face acute food insecurity during the June to August 2023 lean season. That is why the federal government, through the Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning, is sensitizing these stakeholders on how it would harness the cassava industry for availability of food.
Thus, the bioeconomy policy aims at promoting sustainable economic growth and development by creating a bio-based economy that will contribute to job creation, poverty reduction, and increase access to food and energy. This will be achieved through the development of the cassava bioeconomy.
According to the National Bureau of Statistics, food inflation surged to 24.32% in January 2023 from the 23.75% recorded in December 2022, the highest in the last 4 years. Now, the sensitization workshop is aimed at demonstrating the effectiveness of private sector approach in promoting investment in renewable biomass.
Because we just have to take the global economies. We cannot depend on importation of machineries. We cannot depend on importation of technology transfer. We've got to develop our own basic indigenous technology.
That my colleague is willing to donate 2,000 acres of land for this project.
To the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, it is ready to key into the innovation to nip the menace of youth unemployment and hunger in the bud.
I want to assure you that IIT is strongly committed to work with you in this and in other projects that shall be identified.
The sensitization workshop with the theme, The New Economy for Achieving Economic Diversification, Employment and Economic Growth, is a proactive approach towards ensuring food sustainability through innovation. Olaide Oyewole, TVC News, Ibadan.